Yeah, my friends. And Neuralink has started expanding its brain implants beyond the United States. Alu, an American company, promises clean, fast energy for the artificial intelligence era. Technology enables cars to hear, transforming autonomous driving. Japan turns salt water into electricity with Asia's first osmotic power plant, Mevita, the open-source bipedal robot built solely from online parts. These and other new technology innovations will be in this episode, and that's what we're going to see in today's video, right after the intro. Hello, impressed viewers. I'm Realidad Impresionante, and you're watching Realidad Impresionante. If you enjoy our channel, please like, share, and comment to support engagement. Without further ado, let's get to the video. If humans rely on hearing to react quickly in traffic, why do autonomous cars use only electronic eyes to drive? This is the idea behind the Herring Car project, which teaches vehicles to listen using microphones and artificial intelligence. The idea is simple yet powerful. Capture sounds cameras and radars can't detect. An ambulance siren before the curve, a horn in the middle of traffic, or even a warning from a pedestrian who is about to cross. In tests that range from Portugal to the Arctic Circle, the demo car proved the acoustic sensors function in rain, wind, or extreme temperatures, detecting and classifying sounds in real time. If a human is driving, it's interesting how these alerts reach the driver. Critical sounds like sirens can be played directly through the headrest, as if they were being whispered into the driver's ear. Split-second anticipation can mean reacting in time or not. For autonomous driving, every millisecond counts. But artificial hearing isn't limited to just the outside. Researchers are building an intelligent sound ecosystem in the cabin. Simple voice commands like "open the trunk" work only when recognized as the authorized driver's voice. In other words, if someone uses a recording, it's not going to work, okay? Additional tools monitor the driver's health and attention. Short-range radar, mid-range radar, breathing, heartbeat, electroencephalogram band. They detect fatigue, and even voice analysis reveals stress levels. All of this can provide real-time responses to prevent accidents. For passengers, your sound comes into play, an audio system that personalizes all the entertainment. It automatically customizes music and sounds, creating a personalized sound system without dealing with complex menus. The project, funded by German institutions like the Ministry of Science and Culture of Lower Saxony, will be featured at Artificial Intelligence Mobility 2025 in Munich. The bet is that listening will be the next big leap in vehicle perception, making them not only safer, but also more attentive to those inside and outside the cabin. And had you ever imagined that your ride could one day listen to you and have a chat with you? Maybe it could even be your therapist? Japan opened its first osmotic power plant in Fukuoka, becoming the world's second country to explore this energy source. It simply leverages the salt difference between fresh and salt water. Yes, it's a historic milestone for a technology that was recently just an idea or prototype. The facility started operating on August 5th and should produce around 880,000 kilowatts annually, supplying clean energy to a desalination plant serving thousands in the region. The technology works as follows. When fresh and salt water meet through a semi-permeable membrane, the resulting pressure can turn turbines and generate electricity. In Fukuoka, the system combines concentrated seawater from desalination with treated water from sewage plants. This greatly increases the salinity and boosts the available power. The result is a renewable energy source that works without wind or sunlight and doesn't emit carbon dioxide during use. This plant is based on earlier experiments. Denmark put its first commercial plant into operation in 2023, after decades of trial and error on a pilot scale. Researchers in Australia, Spain, and Qatar are also developing prototypes. The main challenge has been membrane efficiency. The loss of energy in pumping and internal friction made the equation not add up. Recent advances, such as Tyobo's hollow fiber membranes, used in Japanese and Danish projects, have significantly changed the scenario. The idea of blue energy is not new. In 1954, R.E. Platt had already theorized about the possibility of generating electricity by mixing fresh water with salt water. In the 1970s, Sidney Loeb, one of the creators of reverse osmosis, outlined the first practical systems. You can see that the problem has always been scaling. Now, with technologies like ionic nanoosmosis from the French startup Sweat Energy, which promises to reduce losses and increase ionic selectivity, that horizon now finally seems much closer. In practical terms, the Oka fire plant is still small, capable of supplying about 220 homes. But the milestone is strategic. It demonstrates that osmotic energy can operate on a large scale and be integrated into existing infrastructure, like these desalination stations. For a country like Japan, surrounded by the sea and dependent on energy imports, the possibility of capturing electricity literally from the mixing of fresh and salt water represents a very powerful promise. For years, teaching robots to move like humans seemed nearly impossible. They could walk, lift weights, and repeat simple tasks, but always stiffly and overly calculated, lacking our natural fluidity. Researchers at Cornell University have introduced Biomimic, which we previously discussed here. This is a game-changing structure as it allows humanoids to learn complex movements from human motion capture. The guy's demo video has already attracted attention. The humanoid robot performing runs, dance steps, spins, somersaults, and even the famous celebration of Cristiano Ronaldo. Most impressively, none of this is pre-programmed. The system uses human data to create a unified policy that generates new actions, even in tests. In other words, the robot doesn't just repeat, it adapts and creates variations of the same movement. This innovation centers on using Markov decision processes. In addition, there's also a set of hyperparameters that can handle multiple movements without manual adjustments. This removes the need for engineers to program each task from scratch. Within minutes, the robot learns long-term consequences from human demonstrations, then blend these movements continuously to maintain the original style, rhythm, and body expression. Another key point is loss-guided diffusion, which adjusts the robot's actions in real time using cost functions. In practice, it's as if it has an invisible guide, correcting every detail to ensure that the movement is precise and stable, even when it tries something new. This lets Biomimic do everything from a martial arts kick to a dance spin without losing balance. The impact is significant since the system was open source, enabling other researchers to replicate and advance it. This accessibility speeds up real-world uses, including rehabilitation, assistive robots, education, entertainment, and social interaction. The humanoid with expressive and adaptable movements is not only more convincing, but also much more useful in our daily life contexts. For Kate Ness, diagnosed in 2018, even raising an arm or holding a utensil has become a major challenge. A team of Harvard bioengineers working with Massachusetts General Hospital doctors has been developing a solution to restore autonomy to these people. This soft wearable robot helps restore movement lost to amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. The device works like a vest with sensors and an inflatable balloon under the arm. It inflates and deflates with movement, offering accessibility. It can be used in any system, in any situation. At any time, but at any time. The system can be used in Ethan Lewis, Steen frogs. The dissolution, Ethan Lewis algebra word louse head, Steen. The reported experience was more natural. Eating, drinking, or performing repetitive movements became easier and less tiring. The engineers needed to blend machine learning with physics-based models, balancing personalization and stability. Katie participated in the development from the earliest prototypes and saw her suggestions being incorporated into these new versions. She described the experience as unique. I didn't feel like a lab rat, but rather part of the team. They were really engaged with me, she said. This direct involvement of patients was essential to create a device that is functional, comfortable, and adapts to the needs of each individual. The impact is broad. For stroke patients, the technology aids rehabilitation. In degenerative cases, such as amyotrophic lateral sclerosis itself, the device can serve as daily support to preserve independence for as long as possible. The team's next steps are now to make the robot wearable and practical for independent use at home, thus enabling more people to regain dignity, autonomy, savings, and daily activities. And now we're going to see a much more advanced technology, but one that also aims, at least initially, to improve the well-being of people with limitations. Neuralink, Elon Musk's company, performed its first surgeries in Canada, marking a historic neurotechnology breakthrough. The surgeries occurred at Toronto's University Health Network, one of the country's largest medical centers, on August 27 and September 3. The patients received the chip, a wireless device from Neuralink, through robotic surgery, as part of the CAN-PRIME study, which evaluates both the safety of this implant and the performance of the surgical robot. The first volunteers were people with cervical spinal cord injuries, who can now learn to move a cursor, send messages, or even control a robotic arm using only their minds. The technology uses a high-bandwidth brain-computer interface to capture neuron electrical signals and convert them into digital commands. For some doctors, this represents a convergence between neuroscience, engineering, and clinical innovation. For patients, it can mean the difference between depending on others for daily tasks and regaining some autonomy. Neuralink, still experimental, plans to expand its study to 30 patients by year's end. The implant is not just a passive receiver. It uses artificial intelligence to interpret brain activity patterns in real time, adapting to the way each person thinks and communicates. This customization lets each patient quickly gain control fluency, even without prior experience. In severe paralysis cases, the promise is to let people interact with the digital world by using their minds as a new keyboard, mouse, or joystick. Paralysis greatly affects sufferers' lives. Replying to emails, turning on home lights, or using social media without physical movement. These are ordinary for most, but for these patients, they mark a leap in autonomy and dignity. The first Canadian surgeries expand Neuralink's international reach, which had already operated in the United States and also in the United Kingdom. With additional clinical data, the company can expand applications beyond paralysis, which Elon Musk says is Neuralink's main goal. The recovery of speech in stroke victims, restoration of vision in blind people, and even early research into memory or skill transmission. Canada is emerging as a key hub in this progress, with its largest medical institution now involved. We are witnessing the birth of a new era, where the boundaries between brains and machines are beginning to disappear. Today, the goal is to restore movement to those who've lost it. Tomorrow, this technology could expand the human mind's limits. The main question is, how far should we go merging man and machine? And do you believe that Neuralink's brain implants should be restricted to medical uses? Or could they be used by anyone in the future? Even those without problems seek more abilities or to create diseases. Memory downloads, as Elon Musk suggests. Leave your comment. Lab humanoid robots are often costly, complex, and hard for learners to access, but a group of engineers from the University of Tokyo has presented a very bold alternative. Mevita is an open-source biped robot built entirely from off-the-shelf parts available online. The goal is to address a dilemma the robotics community has faced for years. Many do-it-yourself projects use 3D printed parts, which are simple but make these robots fragile and hard to scale up. Metal projects are more robust, but they usually have so many components that they end up being too expensive, labor-intensive, and almost impossible to produce outside of large laboratories. Mevita simplifies all of that. It's built with only 18 unique metal parts, 4 of which are made by welding sheet metal. This technique combines complex shapes into one part, reducing components and simplifying robot assembly. That's true even for non-experts. For control, Mevita uses artificial intelligence. Engineers trained walking movements with reinforcement learning in simulation environments like Yzac Team. They then validated the results in another simulation, Mojoko, before transferring the behaviors to the physical robot. With Python scripts, this bridge between simulation and reality showed consistent results. Mevita has been seen walking on uneven floors, grass, concrete, and gentle slopes. Safety was also taken seriously. The system includes wireless emergency stops, a power relay to protect the servo motors, and sensors like LiDAR and electronic measurement unit to provide the robot balance and awareness. The most important thing is that all the hardware, software, and training environment have been released as an open source platform. So any student, researcher, or enthusiast can replicate, modify, and test their own version of this machine. A democratization of biped robotics, which can accelerate discoveries and even shape the next generation of innovators. In the last 40 years, the United States has not put a single sodium-cooled nuclear reactor into operation. However, that has changed now with the start of construction of LOX, the country's first extra-compact modular reactor, built next to the Ardorayo National Laboratory. The startup behind the project is Whale Atomics, which was founded in 2023 and is already promising a very bold achievement. Go from foundation to fission in under 3 years. If they stick to the schedule, the first critical reaction will happen on July 4th, 2026, a symbolic date for them which is chosen to now mark the United States' energy independence. Whale OX was created as part of the government's pilot nuclear reactor program launched in June 2025. Designed to speed up validation and next-generation projects beyond the slow pace of traditional labs. For such a young company, being chosen means credibility and, above all, access to major investors. Whale OX stands out for its design as a sodium-cooled reactor, able to operate without large water volumes, making it much more flexible in strategic locations. Each unit will form the future Whale Pod, a 50-megawatt nuclear plant with 5 scalable prefabricated Whale 1 reactors. This architecture lets data centers, the top electricity users of the artificial intelligence era, add new power modules as demand increases, and all this without major infrastructure work. And no, this detail is not irrelevant. With artificial intelligence driving a historic demand for electricity, data centers are putting pressure on the power grid at levels never seen before. Whale targets this bottleneck, promoting its modular technology as quickly scalable to gigawatt levels with stability and low emissions. John Wagner, director of the National Laboratory, called the project a milestone demonstrating what's possible when innovation and national purpose align. If successful, the Whale OX will be more than just a prototype. It could signal the return of nuclear energy to the forefront in the United States, now aligned with the race for clean energy, and enough to sustain the artificial intelligence boom. So, did you like this episode? Remember that all the sources for everything you saw here are in the description. Thank you so much for sticking with me. If you've made it this far, you've probably made some summaries. Some of those who have stayed with me until now, have made summaries of the video. You can use this description. Copy all 7 news stories into the comments. This helps the video reach more people and also lets me know that you made it to the end of this episode. Thanks. Bye-bye.